the forces beyond, which by possessing a human, find a lifelong host for themselves. Whenever they desire, they compel the host to fulfill their needs by tormenting them. These forces, some of which are called Zār, consume blood to communicate with the host and only respond to the beats of a drum. If you're watching a video from our channel for the first time, click on the subscribe button to have more of our upcoming videos in your timeline. In the first video related to the review of this book, we discussed general topics about supernatural beings known as winds in certain regions of southern Iran. These beings are considered esoteric forces that figuratively enter the heads of humans by possessing them. In this belief, we have different categories of winds with their own rituals, and only those recognized as Baba or Mama can identify the type of wind. In most cases, each type of wind has its own Baba or Mama, and they can become intermediaries between the wind and the person affected by the wind in special ceremonies. In normal conditions, they are also the leaders of the wind people, those who have been captured and ridden by a wind at least once, and, with the help of Baba or Mama, managed to bring down the wind and make them see. This impression means that the invisible force will not harm them anymore, even though it will stay in their head forever. Among all the winds, Zār is the most dangerous and common wind, with 72 types, and anyone from the age of 10 and above can be captured and ridden by Zār. These winds originate mostly from the eastern regions of Africa, Somalia, Zanzibar, and Abyssinia. There have been also winds that introduced themselves from Arabia and India. These introductions usually take place in special ceremonies organized by BabaZār or MamaZār. To have these ceremonies, first, the affected person stays for 7 days in an isolated place, often a vacant dome near the sea, and only BabaZār or MamaZār approaches them. Before starting the official ceremony, the body of the affected person is thoroughly cleaned, and a special substance, like an ointment, is applied to the body to be in a suitable condition for bringing down Zār. According to the descriptions in this book, Zār has a significant difference from other winds in that it brings a jinn with itself. Therefore, BabaZār or MamaZār must first remove the jinn from the body of the affected person and then deal with the wind. This process begins by spreading the smell of fish oil and burning strands of goat hair, bringing the smell to the affected person's nose. Then, BabaZār or MamaZār, with whip strikes, threaten the jinn to leave the body. After the jinn escapes, they deal only with Zār in the head of the patient, continuing the ceremony to bring it down. Before the special Zār ceremony, a goat must be sacrificed, and its blood is poured into a basin and kept over the Zār ceremony table. The general belief is that Zār does not speak until it tastes the blood, and since it is in the head of the affected person, the ceremony proceeds in such a way that at some point, the affected person, with the instruments and songs of the ceremony, begins rhythmic movements that are interpreted as the movements of the wind inside their head. With the initiation of these movements, a white piece of cloth is usually thrown over the head of the affected person, and the ceremony continues until finally they approach the blood table and Zār consumes it. Drinking blood is a sign of membership in the Alibad, meaning the people of wind. During this time, with confidence that Zār has come down, BabaZār or MamaZār ask questions, and in most cases the answers come out in a changed voice from the mouth of the patient and often in the original language of Zār, Arabic, Hindi, or Swahili, while the affected person or the rider may not be familiar with these languages. Most Zār types have expectations from the rider, and they call it a sofre, which are like gifts given to them. Some Zār want white shirts, some want gold. These gifts remain with the affected person after the ceremony, and they should use them whenever their Zār demands them. After the special ceremony, which often takes several nights and days, if the wind does not come down, they leave it to its fate, and often the affected person is expelled from society so that ultimately they place themselves in the desert and die alone. Next to the Zār winds, often accompanied by a jinn entering the human body, a type of wind is introduced as Jinn Winds, most of which are considered harmful, and their main center is in Muscat, the capital of Oman. Individuals affected by these winds often experience anxiety and attacks resembling possession. In many cases, it is said that their facial features change frequently, taking on different forms each time. There are accounts of a person whose face changed 5 times from morning until noon, each time they had a different face on. The primary gathering place for Jinn winds is beneath trees known as law, named for their abundant branches and leaves, providing a broad shade, a suitable place for rest or protection from the intense sunlight of southern Iran. However, locals never pass under these trees as they believe Jinn winds lurk beneath, waiting to prey on humans. In a video linked in the description section on YouTube, discussions highlight the belief that the cedar tree is the only tree considered safe from Jinn winds according to the beliefs of the people of the air. This discussion leads us to ancient beliefs about the cedar tree and its connection to supernatural forces known as Anunnaki in the folklore of the Mesopotamian people. The same video also discusses that the people of the air consider Zoroaster as their founder and list common symbols between the two beliefs. Returning to the narrative of Jinn winds, it is mentioned that they are present in water wells. According to local beliefs, any wind emerging from within a well is accounted for as a Jinn wind and must be confronted. A category of winds introduced in this book carries the title of Mashayekh, meaning the elders. These winds accept vows and fulfill the needs and desires of the desperate. Further elaboration reveals that Mashayekh are often individuals with exceptional skills from the people of the air, transforming into winds after death. For instance, a person named Sheikh Sharif is mentioned, known for devout worship, who used to recite prayers atop mountains and had numerous followers. In one narrative, he was seen simultaneously in Qatar, Aden, and Bandar Lenge, engaged in worship on top of a mountain or hill. After death, Sheikh Sharif transformed into one of the renowned Mashayekh winds. It is also mentioned that anyone dreaming of Mashayekh experiences fear and heartache, then resorts to mountains and deserts. This suggests that Mashayekh carry the same aura of terror as other winds. Several Mashayekh winds carry flags featuring a moon and a star with different color schemes. For instance, one flag is green with a white moon and star, while another has a red background with a white moon and star. These symbols have always been present in the beliefs of inhabitants of various Middle Eastern countries. However, we haven't found yet a definitive source that comprehensively examines all these aspects of ancient beliefs in the Middle East. And if you have any insights on this matter, please share them with us in the comments.